Hey, it's John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, and broadcasting to you from beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts, America's hometown. Let's dive into today's news. We're going to try something new, vertical live streaming on YouTube. It's a new thing. We're going to give it a whirl. We have great stories today. We're going to talk about Trump at the border, craziness on the New York subway, Bostonians going nuts over possibly having illegal immigrants in their neighborhood, and so much more. We have a lot of stories from the border, both the northern border and the southern border. But first, we're going to start off with a little humorous bit from James O'Keefe. So you might remember that James O'Keefe interviewed the judge at the health club, Equinox. Equinox is now canceling James O'Keefe. And in perfect James O'Keefe style, this kind of reminds me of Dave Portnoy as well. James O'Keefe records the phone call from Equinox when he gets his gym membership canceled. So let's see if we can bring this up here again. Kind of an experiment with this vertical thing. Here we go. James O'Keefe. He's on the phone with Equinox, and he's been banned for life. Here we go.
This is Equinox at Great Neck calling. I just want to let you know, going forward, you are officially house canceled from ever joining any Equinox.
Your house canceled.
Future, okay?
Why is that?
So you're just because you have been officially house canceled. So please do not inquire any Equinox going forward. You will not be allowed to rejoin.
You are not allowed to rejoin. James is about to die laughing right here.
You won't give me a reason?
No, there's no reason to be given. So
there actually is a reason. Apparently, he used his cell phone inside the health club, which is forbidden. Like, obviously, recording, right? That was apparently the violation.
Just please, going forward, I will house cancel your membership. You have been canceled effective immediately.
House not just canceled, but house canceled.
And you will no longer be joined to any Equinox. Any Equinox.
We have girls that have claimed that Judge Engoron is creeping them out every day, every visit. Will the Judge Engoron be house canceled for his behavior towards women?
Pretty good deadpan there by James.
And in your facility?
That is not up to your discretion to tell me what other people think. If they have those concerns,
well, it's on video. It's got millions of views online, so it's going viral.
I understand.
So
apparently this is the Equinox in Great Neck, New York. I've been to Great Neck many times, but apparently he's house canceled from all Equinox everywhere.
Will the judge be?
Conversation to be had.
Will the judge be? Well, I think creeping girls out and approaching them like that is serious business.
That is your opinion, sir.
It's not my opinion. It's on video.
Opinion,
it's on video tape.
That's fine.
It's not an opinion. It's a matter of fact.
Okay, that conversation is done.
Are you injecting your politics into the situation, ma'am?
Crickets.
There is no politics to be had. It is in the member contract, but there are no cell phone usage in the club.
How about?
So you are in direct violation of that. So I will just let you know that your membership is officially canceled of today, and you will be house canceled. So
you'll be house canceled.
No longer be allowed to join any Equinox going forward. Okay.
How about the creeping the girls out?
Have a great night,
recording the creeping the girls. You have any? Oh, she hung up the phone.
She got up the phone.
Equinox, I'm banned for life.
Oh, of course, that was definitely worth the price of getting the story. So once again, James O'Keefe strikes. Once again, he strikes. Thank you, James O'Keefe, for the humor. Let's bring up the president. Here he is with Hannity at the border. This is at Eagle Pass. This is the exact boat ramp that I went to in August of 2022, where I went down there on a Sunday morning, and I was like, let's see if everything that Bill Melugin is reporting is actually true. Let's fact check the media. And I was down there for like 20 minutes, and all of a sudden, the church bells started ringing in Mexico, and the coyotes started showing. I saw people crossing the border illegally. I didn't have to wait there for days. I was down there at this particular boat ramp at Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. This is right where this interview took place, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see in the background those red ball things that the governor is trying to install in the river to make sure people don't cross. And here is the president.
Right? Look, we have to deport a lot of people, and they have to start immediately. People don't know that Dwight Eisenhower is a pretty tough president. I never thought of it as that, but 10 years ago, you start reading and you start really seeing. And he was a big deporter, and he would deport tremendous numbers of people, and they'd bring them just to the other side of the border. They come back. He'd bring them again. They come back. Then he brought them 2,000 miles back, and they didn't come back. We have no choice. And the way you do it is your local police. We have the greatest police. They don't get the respect that they have to get.
That's right. So Trump's new plan is to deport you way back to where you're going, to where you belong.
They are treated so badly. They do something and they end up losing their pension, even if it's a good thing. If they stop crime nowadays, they lose their pension, their family, their house, and we're going to give them.
Right. If you stand up as a cop and do your job, you're probably going to be prosecuted by the local far left prosecutor, right?
Immunity to police, and we're going to let the police do the job that they have to do. I think it's very important. They understand who these migrants are. They know them by their first name, their last name. They know where they come from. They know everything about. It's going to be the local police are going to turn them over, and we're going to have to move them back to their country.
So good luck with getting the woke Democrat city cops to do that. It's not that the cops themselves don't want to do it. It's that, the woke officials, right? Because here in Massachusetts, for instance, you can't coordinate with ICE. And we've had any number of instances covered widely in the media recently where courts here in Massachusetts release somebody that is on a detainer with ICE and they're prohibited from coordinating. And literally, they call that a safe communities law, because every time you have a legislator name a law, let's just say they name it the XYZ law, it's obviously the ABC law, right? It's the exact opposite of whatever the title of the bill is. If it's safe communities bill, it's really how to make our communities unsafe bill, right? It's exact opposite. Here is Biden and Trump side by side. This clip from Mornings from Maria. Let's bring it up here. A little tweak. That's a little bit better. And notice the body language between Biden and Trump yesterday at the border.
And meanwhile, one southern border, two very different visits. President Biden touring Brownsville, Texas yesterday. Well,
first off, Biden on the left-hand side, he has his arm on the Border Patrol agent. My question to you is he doing that so he can keep himself steady? Because just take a look at the left-hand side of the screen, because in a minute we're going to hit play. In a second, we're going to hit play, and just watch his gait. The guy can barely walk.
President Trump was in Eagle Pass. Trump highlighted the dangers of an
look
open
at those
border policy.
steps. I mean, he's just barely stepping. Trump's moving right down the line, shaking hands, a lot of smiles. Look at all those. Look at those folks, the National Guard in Texas. They're smiling. Biden can barely walk.
Allegedly killed by an illegal
look at the gate.
from Venezuela. But Biden ignored questions about the death of the Georgia nursing student. Watch this.
Mr. President, do you bear any responsibility for Laken Riley's death?
By the way, they're asking Biden about Laken Riley's death. Her funeral is today at 2:00, sadly, in Georgia.
National Border Patrol Council President Brandon Judd blamed Riley's death on President Biden's ego. Watch.
When you look at the explosion of illegal immigration under President Biden, we have to understand that if we don't get this under control, we're going to continue to have the Laken Rileys of the world. And that's unfortunate, because she paid her life for President Biden's ego rather than what's best for the American people.
Joining me right now is former FBI special agent and Fox News contributor Nicole Parker. Nicole, good to see you this morning.
We'll listen to Nicole for a minute.
Just an incredible list of stories to talk with you about. Your reaction?
First of all, Laken Riley, I mean, this is absolutely tragic. A beautiful young woman with such a bright future. I believe that this current administration has blood on their hands. This individual was here illegally, on 2 instances could have been deported, had committed crimes, and yet now there is a beautiful young woman who is dead, and their family and loved ones' lives will never be the same. As I watched this visit to the border, Maria, it was like night and day. The stark contrast between the 2 visits. You have Biden here that's at a location in a building, a total photo op opportunity. You have President Trump, who's there in the trenches, walking through.
Right. So Biden went to what, Brownsville, where there's not a lot of traffic coming in, and Trump went to Ground Zero, Shelby Park, Eagle Pass, where I've been, and huge difference in where Trump went. Trump went where it's happening.
The dirt, shoulder to shoulder with Border Patrol and with Governor Abbott. He's
Can
in
barely
the trenches
walk.
and he really cares. And it shows.
Look, I mean, Trump is just strolling along and Biden can barely walk.
The fact that President Biden could not even acknowledge, Lakin's name in this press conference is absolutely disgusting and disrespectful.
Well, even more than that, they're trying to pin it on Trump. Incredible to me to actually, one of the statements from Biden and the administration was that Trump has been trying to defund the police. I mean, after all of those years of the Democrats defunding the police and pushing to defund the police, they have the nerve to say.
What's wild is that some people actually believe that, right? Some people actually believe that Trump is trying to defund the police. Some people will actually believe that. We have a tremendous report out from Todd Bensman. So here he is here. Todd Bensman breaks down Globalist Welcome Center offering interest-free loans to migrants. This is on War Room with Bannon. And let's bring up this video. We're going to, you also just want to see the body language from Bannon on this video because he's like, what? This is just an amazing report from Todd. Here he is here. Let's pull it up at the 3.5 minute mark on this War Room clip. Go ahead, Todd.
Possible as quickly as possible. Todd Bensman.
Right. Before I get to that, I just want to point out, riff on one aspect of what those guys were saying down there in the Darien. The new welcoming centers that are converting economic migrants into a legal refugee. Also, those refugees have access to a State Department funded free travel loan program so that they can.
What? A State Department free travel? What?
Borrow the money from the U.S. taxpayers and fly their whole families internationally into the United States. Those loans.
Hold it.
Bannon's like, what? Hold it.
Those loans are interest free.
Bannon can't even believe it. He's like, what?
And there are no penalties and no collection effort. Like if you and I were to, blow off our loans, we'd have like the collection guys calling.
Stop. You have to go back over that. I need to hear this again slowly because I can hear in the distance, I hear the heads of War Room Posse members blowing up. Walk me through. And this is what Johnson could shut down today. None of that crap is out of there. Call your representative right now and say, you liars, what in the hell are you doing? You're exacerbating. You are aiding and abetting the invasion of the country, and we don't hear any more crap from you. Listen what Todd Benson is about to tell you, which you're paying for with your hard-earned dollars, your hard-earned money, not going to your kids, not going to your community, not going to your church or your charity, something you make a decision to do, going to your government to pay for this. Bensman, give it to me.
Go Google State Department travel loan program and migrants, and it'll
State Department travel loan program
pop up. They've got websites. It's a State Department sponsored loan program for people that have whole families that need cash to buy their air tickets. But in this case, it's interest free and there's no collection penalties if you blow it off when you're back in the States. You're supposed to pay this thing off. And the State Department has turned over management of the travel loan program to the UN's IOM, International Office for Migration.
So it's actually right here. I don't know. I got it right here. It says no interest loan program. The State Department funds international transportation of refugees to be resettled in the United States through a program administered by the IOM. The transportation is provided to refugees through a no interest loan. No interest loan. All right, back to Benson.
So that's how they're flying a lot of them in. Now, I have a FOIA request in for every aspect of this thing. They're gonna fight me on it, I'm sure. But getting back to your original question,
thank God, when Trump wins, we got to get rid of this program day one.
and that program is part of a vast infrastructure that the United Nations has built over the last 3 years to accommodate, aid, and abet the mass migration from the Darien Gap all the way to the U.S. border. It's had 3 years to grow and thrive and establish itself as way stations all the way through. My theory has always been that this is about money, that 248 NGOs that are participating in just the southern approaches trails are getting direct grant money from the U.S. State Department, and they convert that. First, they take their cut, of course, which is what this is all about, and then convert the rest of it to cash and other kind of material aid for the aliens that are coming.
We're actually going to talk about this later in the show because the UU Church, which is really an activist organization, is running this organization called No More Deaths in the Arizona desert. And the UU Church is now going to open a migrant shelter in downtown Boston. And the downtown Boston woke people in the Fort Point neighborhood aren't very happy. This is like a replay of when DeSantis flew the immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, and 36 hours later, they got rid of them. And now UU, which is a church, is now going to be opening up their headquarters in downtown Boston at 24 Farnsworth Street. And we're going to get to that story later in today's show. It is just insane. Go ahead, Todd.
And Eisenhower warned us in his last days in office about something called the military industrial.
That's really interesting because Trump was just talking about Eisenhower, wasn't he?
Industrial complex. Watch out that it doesn't get control of U.S. foreign policy, because if the military industrial complex did that, we would be at war nonstop, because who gets to build the tanks and bombs and planes and aircraft carriers but them. And in the same way, the NGO industrial complex, migrant advocacy industrial complex, we're seeing this unfold, have seized control of U.S. immigration policy and are absolutely, becoming bloated on massive profits, government contracts, grant money. This is about money in the end.
No, how dare you, Todd? It can't be about money and power. Oh, no. This is not about money and power, Todd. You just stop it right there. It can't be. No, this is about being humanitarian. This is about people that are being persecuted. This is not about money and power. Just stop, Todd. It just can't be. Absolutely not. Next story from the northern border. Help signs to aid migrants in distress already used along Mexican border are now being installed on the northern border. So there's so many people since 2021. The amount of traffic coming in through the Swanton sector, which is up in northern New Hampshire / northern New York, is up 1,900%. Now, this next number I'm going to give you is not that shocking if you've been to Texas, but last year they had 7,000 people come through the northern border illegally. Now, I know that's just an afternoon at Eagle Pass, right? That's just an afternoon in Arizona, right? That's not a big number for that part of the country. But you also have to remember that the Swanton sector is geographically much smaller, and there's a lot of growth in the number of people coming into the United States illegally from the Swanton sector. So now they're putting up signs. Let's scroll down here just so that you can see the sign. Here is the sign. It's written in both English and in French, so that you can, heaven forbid, you find yourself lost in the northern New England woods and you're about to freeze to death somewhere up by the Canadian border. You can call, because, of course, every migrant has a cell phone, right? and you got the location number. It's just like getting up pulled over, broken down on the side of the highway, right? Those little mile markers where you can call AAA and they'll come and get you. It's basically the same thing for illegal immigrants. So thank God, and it is kind of an admission that that there's a volume problem at the northern border. Here we are, the New Hampshire Journal, right, Michael? Michael, my old friend Michael Graham, I think is associated, and a 911 help sign at the U.S.-Mexico border are now starting to show up on the New Hampshire border. Illegal immigrant aid signs used at Mexican border make their way to New Hampshire. Not a big surprise. There they are. Yeah, so unbelievable. And as we did say today, sadly, thank you, Real Political Savvy, for posting the Patriot Savvy. Laken Riley's funeral will be held in Woodstock, Georgia today at 2 p.m. If you would be so kind, would you join me for a moment of silence at that time to honor her life that was taken too soon? Her name is Laken Riley. Today, 2 o'clock, sadly, is her funeral. God bless her and her friends and family. Today, 2 o'clook. Marsha Blackburn, one of my favorites. I wish we had a United States Senator like Marsha Blackburn. Why am I having tripping over her words? Within a week, 4 illegal immigrants have been arrested for murder of a college student in Georgia, who we just mentioned, murdering a 2-year-old in Maryland, which I believe there's a Massachusetts connection to that story, sexual assault of a minor in Virginia, raping a 14-year-old girl, and stabbing a man in Louisiana. Yeah, it's going great. Everything is fine. Pay no mind. Everything is absolutely fine. So when DeSantis flew the illegals into Florida, which was one of the greatest all-time political trolls of all time, and to see these people in Martha's Vineyard spring in action like, we're not set up for this, and to see the actual pictures of the sanctuary signs were just absolutely hilarious. And if you can't remember, the governor sent over the state troopers and buses and got those people off the island and sent them to basically a dormitory on a military base within 36 hours, because you can't have illegal immigrants mingling with the beautiful people over in Martha's Vineyard. Can't do that, right? This is one of the greatest things DeSantis has ever done. So now, because here in Massachusetts, we have this right to shelter law, which is a law which could be repealed. This is a self-inflicted harm that we're doing to ourselves, because we could repeal this law in Massachusetts, because remember, New York City has a similar law, but that's a court decree, which they really can't get rid of. We have a voluntary law here in Massachusetts. So now we have, this is like a giant illegal alien electromagnet is what it is. And now we have so many illegal aliens here in Massachusetts that are coming here for the free shelter and the free food that we're running out of places to put them. So UU, which is a church, Universalist, whatever they're called, they sold their fancy Beacon Hill headquarters about a decade ago and bought this office building in the Fort Point district, which is just around the corner from South Station. And now they're going to be taking some of the extra space that they have at their, this is like the mother church, like of UU. And they're going to be taking some extra space, coordinating with the United Way, all NGOs, right? You heard it from Bannon's show. Todd was talking about it. And this is what the NGO industrial complex, immigration industrial complex, they're going to be taking some extra space and making space for 30, 40 illegal immigrants in this office / very wealthy neighborhood in downtown Boston. And the locals aren't too happy. Here's a report from WBZ Kiewit, David Wade.
In Fort Point, in the seaport, are fired up about the plan to open an emergency overflow shelter in one of the most expensive Boston neighborhoods. And tonight was their first opportunity to take their grievances right to city leaders. WBZ's Tammy Mutasa was there.
Tonight, some people who live in this neighborhood voiced their anger and frustration at a community meeting with state officials about this emergency shelter that's opening its doors. Neighbors feel like they had no say in this process, and officials had no.
You don't have any say. How dare you even try to say anything? Just take it. But it's hilarious as these formerly people that were obviously they all vote Democrat, right? And now they're like, whoa. It's okay if they swarm Texas or northern New Hampshire, but not our nice little neighborhood here in Boston. No.
Answers for them either.
Wait. Can we?
Look at these, all these almost exclusively white, incredibly wealthy elitists complain.
Finally have a little bit of decorum in the room.
No, this is my neighborhood.
Fuming neighbors who call 4 Point Home grilled state officials about the 80 migrants.
There's another meeting tonight at 4:00, by the way, which I might go to.
Who will call 24 Farnsworth Street a temporary home. The office space owned by the Unitarian Universalist Association will be turned into the latest overflow shelter.
How is it a done deal?
So there's like got to be 6 bathrooms, no showers. Oh, it's going to be great.
You cannot answer these questions.
Safety and security, location, and facilities topping the concerns.
Said this is real.
Look at her, and they're like, how much of those goose down jackets or whatever, those jackets are these people are very, very wealthy. That almost everybody lives in this. There are no poor people that live in this neighborhood unless you're homeless on the street. It's a very wealthy neighborhood. They all vote Democrat. Look at she's pissed off. How dare you? How dare you? She's getting radicalized.
How are you going to ensure we're safe?
So we get no say as residents of the town, residents of the city, neighbors.
That's right. You get no say. Shut up and take it.
I would like to see a little bit more compassion. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Neighbors like Brian Curley say the community didn't have a voice before the decision was made.
I think there's a lot of angry residents here who feel the same way I do, that this was being forced on us.
General Scott Rice, who's overseeing the state's strange shelter system, vowed security for families living in the shelter and neighbors in the community.
Our track record has been very good. We've had very, very, very few incidents.
United,
except for like the illegal aliens killing people, raping people, hurting 14-year-olds. Yeah, right. No, it's been great.
Way is the nonprofit that will run the shelter. Neighbors voiced their concerns to them about no showers on site and a plan to bus migrants to local Ys for services. Though United Way says there will be at least 6 bathrooms in the space.
We certainly would not put anybody in a space that has anything unsafe for them.
And while some are ready to welcome shelter residents with open arms,
this is a great idea. Smart thinking. I think it should happen more often.
Some are still frustrated at the lack of information.
There was a lot of questions tonight. There were not a lot of answers.
State officials say they'll be.
You're not going to get a lot of answers. Shut up and take it. Right? When are these people going to finally start to wake up and realize that the people that run this country, they hate you, right? Right. So I love to see a story like this because you start to see some light bulbs go off. Now, we live in Massachusetts where none of these people are ever going to vote for a Republican. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to continue to vote for people that hate them. But you know, it's the beginning of the beginning, I guess, of a wake up call here. We are way far away from being Tennessee or being Florida, right? Or being way far away from that. This is just the beginning of some type of like cognitive dissonance that the starting to break just a little bit. So we have this massive war on our country. If you've not been watching or recently, there's a massive choice, and Vivek is probably one of the best speakers. I heard him speak about this just last night, where there are people that hate our country and everything it stands for, and then there are us. And this battle is taking place everywhere on every particular front, whether it's migration or tax policy or whatever that is. And one of the hottest topics here is on energy, right? The war on energy. Every country's economy is based upon energy. And we have today Peter St. Onge, Professor Peter St. Onge. Is that how you say it, St. Onge? discussing a phenomenon which is out there, which basically the environmental activists sue the Biden administration. The Biden administration says, oh, we're so sorry. And it closes down another viable opportunity for us to be energy independent like we were when Trump was president. So here is the professor to explain the situation.
Handing our prosperity and our independence to China and its growing band of minion dictators. 2 years ago, the Biden administration celebrated taking 4 million acres of federal land that's bigger than the state of Connecticut off limits for oil and gas exploration. Environmental groups were ecstatic, calling it a new path toward independence from fossil fuels. They were ecstatic because the land had enormous potential to create jobs and wealth in domestic.
Right. So we're going to stop you from drilling here, even though it would make us more independent from, say, Saudi Arabia and China.
Energy, freeing us from conducting permanent wars in the Middle East and perhaps even keeping the lights on. The move was part of a much bigger push to effectively ban domestic production, not just in energy
and your gas stove at home,
and mining, but in manufacturing. What's most concerning is the tactic. The 4 million acres were condemned not because of a public policy decision that voters could weigh in on, but to settle a lawsuit by Wild Earth, an environmental lawfare outfit.
Environmental lawfare. So here's another NGO. Basically, all your Democrats are working through NGOs. They're basically out farming out so many of the tasks that they want to achieve from a public policy point of view to the NGO sector.
So they'll sue to compel some policy, and since the Biden administration is sympathetic, the legal battle is basically a play fight.
Right, they'll roll over, they'll turtle.
Please don't force me. Presto, they condemn 4 million acres without the people's representatives in Congress even having a say. In fact, with nobody to blame. They forced us, you see. The tactic is known as sue and settle. It's absolutely ravaged our mining industry to the point we are forced to rely on China and hostile third world dictatorships to keep the lights on. As Tom Pyle of the American Energy Alliance puts it, quote, the swamp has been refilled via lawsuit with unelected bureaucrats circumventing the will of the people. According to the National Association.
Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Yes, it does sound familiar because they're just attacking everybody at every fit. It's just pathetic. It's just ridiculous. They want to make us dependent upon Saudi Arabia. They want to make us poorer. They want to make us dependent upon China. Those are their allies, right? Those are their allies. They want to they see our country as evil, right? And there's not just a handful. I remember 20, 25 years ago here in Massachusetts, there were a handful of these people. They were kooks. And the Democratic Party was run by Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton was against illegal immigration. Now the kooks run the show. It's astounding what has happened in the last 25 years in terms of what is, as Elon Musk would tweet out, the shift in the Overton window. And I used to be a Democrat, right? Used to be a regular Democrat, President Kennedy type of Democrat. And all of us are now Republicans, right? And here in Massachusetts, they forced out normal Democrats. There's so many people that would otherwise be Republicans, but they're Democrats because it's good for business here in Massachusetts, whether it's at the local level or even at the state level. There's so many people here that just cave to what is otherwise a fairly small minority. Don't let this shake your confidence in the human race here, but thief busted in brutal subway cello attack, released without bail, despite even DA Bragg's office wanting her behind bars. So you may have seen this story of the woman who assaults the cello player in the New York subway. I mean, if there's anything that the New York subway needs is some classical music, like when you're walking to your train. How about a little classical music? That's not a bad idea, right? And nope, she'll be back. And there's a picture of her basically taking, I don't know what she hit him with. She hit him with something, kind of looked like a piece of wood. I'm not exactly sure, but isn't that a nice tattoo she's got right on her cheek there? And she'll be back. Judge Springs repeat offender who bashed Subway cellist despite DA asking him for bail. So my New York Post. And my take on this is that the DA was like, oh, yeah, we want bail for this person. And no one believes that the DA really wanted the bail. If the DA really wanted the bail, she'd be held. But no, this is New York, so not going to happen. That's what it's like in Democrat cities, right? That's who we're working for, and they're not working for us for sure. Jesse Waters nails down what happened in the courts yesterday. Democrat agenda is all about the courts, and Jesse's basically saying that they lost the election, and that's why they're freaking out. Here we go, Jesse.
So last night was election night for them.
Yeah.
And they lost, Greg.
Mhm.
You could see the emotion because they have put all of their eggs in this basket of lawfare. And now they're realizing that the
once again, lawfare
judges at the Supreme Court aren't on their schedule.
Mhm.
And so they're realizing that Joe Biden might have to win this himself.
Right? Good observation by Jesse, right? The Dems, they put all of their eggs in the basket of somehow getting rid of Trump by some court procedure. And now they realize that might not actually happen. And they might actually have to run Biden against Trump. So it's not too late to get rid of Biden. I mean, you saw him walking down the border. The guy can barely put two steps together. So it still remains whether Biden will be the nominee.
That's what you saw last night. Them realizing that this is going to be a free and fair election to a certain extent, where it's going to be mano a mano, and you're not going to have judges and lawyers screwing around with everything. Because they've been trying to persuade a handful of judges instead of 150 million voters. That's what they do. That's why they get so hysterical when you have Supreme Court nominations. That's why they go to mattresses for someone like Kavanaugh. Remember, that's how their agenda happens. It's all in the courts. It's very rarely legislatively. So
that's exactly what the professor just said about mining, right? It's all about lawfare in the courts. Here is Whoopi losing her yesterday, right? Here she is here. He could do anything. She's just out of her mind.
He could throw Well, the Supreme Court won't hear oral arguments until the end of April. Now, let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has all those rights. He is immune from everything. Yeah. You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, he could. I mean, no. This is not a
Because he
good
would be
thing.
immune because he would have total-
These people are like certifiably insane.
But he can go. What this means is he could.
And they're the ones, people like this on The View are the ones that say, we're the threat to democracy, right? We're the threat to democracy. When she's like, let's just throw all the Republicans in jail.
Do anything.
Yeah.
He could dismiss everybody's debt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I had this conversation last night with my daughter. She's like, let's do some free college. And I'm like, nothing's free in the world, honey.
You know, there's a whole bunch of great stuff that could happen, but let's really look at what this means.
Yeah. So they're basically kicking the can down the road, though. They're not taking up this case immediately.
Right.
So what's their motive?
Taking the case up immediately. We actually have to run Biden. What are we gonna do? Fox had a good montage of the insanity on the left yesterday. Let's see if we can bring that up on the feed here. Here we go. This is the left going absolutely bonkers. Fox put together a good montage. Here it is. Gutfeld introduces.
The Supreme Court announced that it will hear the former president's immunity case.
The cravenness of the court is evident in what they are doing with the pacing here.
It is frustrating.
They're craven. They're not doing it on our timeline.
To me, that the idea that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to be delaying this trial.
It's a bad look for them.
It's a bad look for them.
Yeah. It's a very, to have taken this.
It is an unmistakable sign from the MAGA majority of the Trump-created court that they are with him.
There is a lot tonight to be pessimistic about.
Some of the justices simply want to assist Donald Trump in delaying the resolution of this case in the hope of pushing his trial off past the election.
And I am.
All right. So does anybody recognize this lady? Because I don't recognize her. And the Chirons covers her name. But who is her? Remind me who she is. But listen to what she says.
Beyond terrified, Nicole, right now for our.
I'm beyond terrified. Wow, I'm beyond terrified. Whoa. Oh, God. All right. So she was the best one.
We can't put all of our hopes,
Jamie,
in the Supreme Court.
Where's
the
his
people
thing?
need to be engaged and aroused at this point.
Engaged and aroused?
To demand that there be justice.
Engaged and aroused.
All right. Oh, man. They're pretty bent out of shape that they don't have the media. They don't have the courts like they want the courts. And thank God for Trump. All right, moving on. This is just sad and pathetic. This case, this tweet here. Mom from Libs of TikTok. Mom at Pride Parade says her 15-year-old month baby uses they them pronouns. How can a 15-month-old baby decide to be non-binary? This is child abuse.
Excuse us.
How old is she?
They are 15 months old.
How old is she? And the answer is they are 15 months old. Now, this is at a gay pride parade where even the person who asked the question thought it was ridiculous. She's on the left in the purple T-shirt.
We actually use they, them pronouns. We're great until they tell us who they are. That's why you were like, who, what?
Oh, wow.
Oh, even the gay pride participant is like, you got to be kidding me, Mom.
So,
They.
Uh-huh. Awesome. Well, enjoy the Pride Parade.
Did you say thank you? Thank you.
By the way, a video originally from Pizza Pepe, reposted by Libs of TikTok. No, nothing wrong with this. Nothing at all.
We are pulling apart this idea of sex, which is related to genitals, and gender, which is related to how you move in the world. So what you wear, how you share your identity with other people, all of those things are related to gender.
Excuse us.
Boy, I don't even know what to say. Let's just move on. Whew. That's just crazy talk. All right, so we have a journalist, a J6 journalist, Steve Baker from Turning Point USA, got arrested this morning by the FBI for his reporting on January 6th. So January 6th is what, 3 years ago or something? I mean, but here he is. This is from this morning. All credit to Brianna Morello covering this story. Journalist Steve Baker from Turning Point USA has just arrived at the FBI field office in Dallas and has turned himself in. And of course, his crime is telling the truth, being a journalist. So here he is here. Giving, I think, a thumbs up sign there. Clap. And now he's going in the building. That's it. Turned himself in after being basically, he's going to get arraigned today. Here is his own thread on X. This time it's really happening. Unlike two previous threats, my attorneys received my self-surrender for general alleged J6 crimes is set for Friday this morning. There is now a signed arrest warrant. So he's expected to be released shortly thereafter, but they wanted him basically humiliated rather than just show up in the court. They wanted him humiliated. They actually told him to show up with shorts and sandals. Instead, he showed up with his suit coat and tie. Good for him. Brianna, is that how you say it? I hope so. Did an interview with him last night. Let's take a look. Quick listen.
The Department of Justice is really just upset with him over it. And they have told you that you're going to be arrested.
Yeah, voluntarily.
voluntarily.
Yeah, no,
You
I'm
didn't volunteer yours.
I did not call them up and say, please arrest me.
Yeah.
I'm not the drunk Otis from Andy Griffith who always wanted to get himself turned in every night just so he had a place to sleep off his drunk.
Yeah.
But the reality is that tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I am being required by the federal government to self-surrender at the Dallas FBI field office, and I will be doing that. How long? We're almost 13 hours away.
It's so crazy to think.
Yeah, tremendously emotional. It's just crazy. Here he is with Jeff Glenn Beck. This came out yesterday afternoon.
Oh, mentally, how are you? I have my moments. I'm okay. I've had over 2 years to prepare for this. I've game planned it all out in my head. I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm not even going to try. It is my way anyway. And so I'm just going to, prepare, pray, and then I'm going to put on my suit and tie. Good for you. And walk in with my head up. Good for you.
All right, good for him, and God bless him. I hope his day gets better than it started there at the FBI office in Dallas. So, hey, thanks for joining us. I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack, broadcasting to you from America's hometown in beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts. Have a great day. Bye-bye.